All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, Jamal Hill just bodied Ariel Helwani on his YouTube channel. He uploaded a video about 6 hours ago reacting to Ariel Helwani's interview that he did with Yuri Prochazka just on Monday or Tuesday. I don't know which day it was, but on his, recap show from the weekend. And Jamal Hill came with receipts, man. And I'm so glad that he did this because there are so many fighters that are unwilling to call shit like this out. Ariel Helwani provides a pretty decent sized platform for fighters to come on and build their profile and things like that. Jamal Hill doesn't need that. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of fighters don't need that. There are other ways to build your profile. You don't need Ariel Helwani to help you out. And ever since Jamal Hill has won the championship, Ariel Helwani has been pretty goddamn demeaning towards him and his achievement. He has mentioned on multiple occasions, and I've brought this up in a bunch of my videos, that because Jamal Hill is the champion in the UFC does not have the best light heavyweight in the world. He says that Vadim Nemkov at Bellator is the best active light heavyweight in the world until Yuri Prochazka comes back from his injury, which I find absolutely insane, okay? Because one, they beat the same old Glover to win their titles, okay? The only difference is that had Yuri Prochazka not finished Glover Teixeira in that fifth and final round in that last minute with that choke that just, you know what I mean, came from out of nowhere. Glover was absolutely exhausted, failed scramble, all that. He would have lost that fight via decision. He was losing on the scorecards, or he should have been if he wasn't. You know what I mean? I haven't looked at the judges' official scorecards, but he was losing that fight. Jamal Hill went out there and put on a goddamn masterclass against Glover Teixeira. Beat the brakes off of him. It was a real eye-opening moment for a lot of people that thought Jamal Hill was just a, just a bigger guy who hits hard. It showed how technical it was. It showed that he could set shit up. You know what I mean? He was landing the head kicks over and over again. And that fight made me think that Jamal Hill would knock Yuri Prochazka the fuck out if they ever fought. Now, what's crazy is I found this out yesterday doing my video on Yuri Prochazka and Alex Pereira's potential matchup, that Yuri Prochazka has a ton of fanboys out there who think that he's a lot more technically sound, a lot more elusive than he really is. Dude lands 5.7 strikes per minute, absorbs 5.4. You know what I mean? He looks cool. He looks elusive when he's fighting, but he's not. And Jamal Hill goes over this, right? Because Yuri Prochazka essentially takes shots at Jamal Hill for being basic. Now, I'm going to play parts of this interview. I'm going to have it sped up, pardon me. Actually, not the interview itself. The interview and the reaction from Jamal Hill's side. I'm going to speed it up to, I think, 1.5 speed, just so we're not here forever going over it, because it was an 18-minute long video, and I haven't cut out a whole lot because I think a lot of the points that Jamal Hill makes are very noteworthy. And it's cool to see a guy like Jamal Hill come back with receipts, because Ariel Helwani, for whatever reason, can be a snake and a weasel fucking 9 times out of 10. And then he does one Paddy Pimblett thing where he comes back with receipts and all of a sudden he's in the good graces of everybody, which he doesn't deserve to be, dude. He's a slimy fuck. And I've done a bunch of videos talking about him. And credit to Jamal Hill also, because he shouted out the MMA guru who's also done a bunch of videos on Ariel Helwani that obviously get way more attention than my videos. So that was cool of Jamal Hill to give love to a YouTuber like that. But yeah, we're going to react to this. I'm going to play it right now, making sure that it's at 1.5 speed, starting off 2:43 in the interview. Here we go.
What your reaction was
Shit.
when you found out about Jamal Hill's injury.
Oh man, that was first my.
I will preface this, dude. Yuri Prochazka's English is not great. Obviously, it's not his first language, so I don't want to shit on some of the things he says too hard, because I feel like there's certain things that he says that it literally is just due to his English, but I also think that Ariel Helwani takes advantage of that. I think Ariel Helwani knows that his English is not the greatest, and that because they're having a conversation in English, Ariel Helwani can kind of lead this interview, lead the conversation in the way that he wants to get the clips, to get the answers out of Yuri Prochazka that he wants to. And I think that this is just a slimy journalist tactic, okay? So
My reaction was, man, what are you doing, man? Because I think
working out.
it happened. Doesn't matter what's the reason if that, but everybody saw like he had like a big weight, he's like turned to a big weight, and especially for the ankles and all these areas like knees, ankles is it's for the body. It's a very big weight. Like if you
Now he's talking about Jamal Hill's weight, and I kind of understand what he's saying, right? If you've got a bunch of weight, extra weight, like a bunch of body fat, your ankles are definitely more likely to go out, depending on what you're doing. You know what I mean? It can cause problems for you in your joints, but it is strange that he would speculate, because while Jamal Hill does look like he's a little out of shape, you know what I mean? He does not have the epitome of like a healthy body. They're in light heavyweight. You know what I mean? And there's in certain times, for like Glover does not have a fantastic physique. There are certain times when you're fighting heavier guys that are essentially just as big as you or just as strong as you, where extra weight might come in handy. You know what I mean? At 135, it certainly would not be ideal to have 20 extra pounds of fat on you, and almost in any circumstance it wouldn't. But when you look at the way that a guy like John Jones handled Cyril Gahn with all of his extra body fat, do you know what I mean? I know a lot of it's technique and stuff like that, but then once you get that guy down and you're on top of him and you've got an extra 20 pounds that you can use to help muscle dude around, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not a bodybuilding contest, dude. It's a fight, right? And there's also and Jamal Hill raises a good point coming up here in a minute.
if you're turning your weight like more than normal, then the knees and ankles.
What is funny though is I just thought of this. Was it Paddy Pimblett's ankle was fucked up? Was it not? You know what I mean? And that dude gains a lot of weight outside of camp. But anyways,
It's bad. So that was the first like logical thing about that, why it can happen.
Okay.
And
Jamal Hill is about to raise a brilliant point right here. Okay, I wish I could say it before. I don't want to say it before because I'm going to give him credit for thinking of it on the spot like this. This was something that I also gave Jamal Hill credit for when he did his interview with Ariel Helwani, and Ariel Helwani was trying to do a bunch of gotcha questions to essentially lead the conversation and make it seem like Jamal Hill was totally cool with Dana White slapping his wife, and that Jamal Hill was saying if a chick slaps you, you slap her back. You know what I mean? Which is not really what he said. He just said everybody keep their hands to themselves. And Ariel Helwani, being the slimy fuck that he is, was able to create this narrative out of it.
All right, I'm gonna address this right here, right off the bat, for everybody saying, wait, first off, how much do I weigh? You have no idea how much I weigh. You have
No, we don't have any idea how much you weigh. You know what I mean? But we can clearly see that you've got extra body fat on you. And I'm not trying to shit on Jamal Hill here. I'm just saying this point's a little weak because I don't need to know that you weigh like 237 on the dot to know that you have extra body fat. But I also don't know, and I wouldn't ever speculate, that the amount of body fat he has on him is what's fucking up his ankles. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you think of shit like that, you're thinking of boys like Derek Lewis, or, you know, like some morbidly obese heavyweights walking around. It's like, yeah, their ankles are probably fucked. But also, Jamal Hill's probably been carrying extra weight most of his adult life, most of his life. You know what I mean? His body doesn't look like it just showed up this way. You know, it's probably been something that he's dealt with. His legs are probably strong. Like, the dude's strong. You know what I mean? Like, he's got muscle also. It's just hidden a little bit. Jesus.
no idea how much I'm used to walking around at. None of these things, right? But will come on and say these things. So, like I said, I had my Achilles repaired by one of the best doctors, by the best doctor in the world. Okay, and he told me there was nothing that I could do. My tendon was already bad.
Now, that almost goes towards Yuri Prohaska's point, right? If you're walking around with extra weight, your tendon could potentially be bad, and then it ruptured due to what you were doing. And it reminds me of fucking the comedian Tom Segura, who shattered his arm and tore his knee trying to do a dunk on a 9-foot net. You know what I mean? Basketball injury also. He's a lot more out of shape, a lot more overweight than Jamal Hill, but that's just what it made me think of. But let's keep going.
I had tendinosis already existing in the tendon. So it was only a matter of time before it ruptured. All right.
Ads. Beautiful.
That is something that I didn't have control of. Now, if it ruptures in a fight, in a title fight, that's a way better, worse situation.
You know what, too? It could. He says why he thinks so in a second, like but he basically gives all the same reasons as to why he pulled out. You know what I mean? Loses his belt and this and that and whatever. You could be in a very dangerous situation if that were to happen during a fight. Do you know what I mean? And there are some savages that would fight through that and cause like irreparable harm to whatever joint it was that just blew. Because you've got a ton of adrenaline coursing through your veins. You're in a fight. I'm sure that the pain that you feel inside the cage is not even close to the pain that you feel an hour later. Do you know what I mean? So had he ruptured it in a fight, it could have potentially been an extremely dangerous situation because he could have gotten hurt not only from that, but from his opponent following up. The fact that he got hurt, he could have, because of the adrenaline and the fact that he's in a fight, just fight through it, fight through the pain, and then cause like irreparable harm to his Achilles tendon, which that is a horrible injury, by the way. And when that shit goes, that sounds like a fucking carrot snapping. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not a nice injury.
It's a way worse situation. All right, I lose my title, I'm in rehab, and a whole lot of other things. Okay, it's just a bad thing one way or the other. And it's funny that you talk about logically, and speaking of the body, this is the same guy who popped his shoulder out and then let his buddy yank on his arm to try to put it back in place and destroyed his shoulder.
That is the best point that he made throughout this entire video, in my opinion. Yuri Prohaska talking about logic is goofy as fuck. The dude is not like logically sound in any which way, shape, or form. He fights like a wild man. He acts like a wild man. He popped his shoulder out in training, had a guy who's not a doctor, not a medical expert, try to pop it back in place and cause and create the worst shoulder injury in the history of the UFC, causing him to relinquish his belt and be out for about a year. It's almost the exact same amount of time as Jamal Hill's going to be out. The only difference is Jamal Hill's happened while he was playing a sport or whatever, and Yuri Prohaska's happened because he thought so logically that he was going to let his homeboy yank on his fucking arm to try and put his shoulder back in place when the dude has no idea what he's doing. You know what I mean? Insane.
And did that as as the champion of the world. How is that logical or smart?
True. I'm going to skip ahead here a few 20 seconds or so. 30 seconds.
You handled it said a lot about you, because for the last few months, even his last post on Twitter before the announcement that he was out was like insinuating that you were taking too long, that you were afraid, that all this nonsense. And then you say to him, I wish you the best. And then he responded to you. But like, you know, over the last few months, a lot has been said about you, and you took the high road and wished him well. I thought was a very classy.
See, this is how Ariel Helwani creates a narrative. He could have asked that question in fucking a quarter of the words. Right? Like, he's asking him essentially, what do you think about Jamal Hill's injury? You could let him say what he said on social media. You don't need to preface it with all this other shit. He's creating the narrative that Yuri Prohaska is this really nice guy. Jamal Hill's a dirtbag who fucking talking shit about Yuri and his injury on Twitter, and that Yuri Prohaska is such a great human because instead of taking shots back, all he did was take the high road and, you know, wish him well and all this stuff, and it just really showed what a great human you were, and fucking blah, 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 blah. Bro, that's not a question, that's a statement. You know what I mean? Ask the fucking question. It's simple. What do you think about Jamal Hill's injury? If he could say the exact same shit that he posted on Instagram. You don't need to tell us all that shit, though. Let him say it. You know what I mean? Also, I never really saw Jamal Hill being disrespectful to Yuri Prohaska when it came to his injury. And in fact, the opposite. But we're going to get to that in a bit.
Thing that you did on your part.
Hold it. I pause it right there.
Yeah.
Now, you see that? Now, he is attempting to try to give him props to up him while subliminally trying to take shots at me.
Yeah, and he's framing it. He's creating a narrative. You know what I mean? And then it's not just that. You can get more shit out of a guy like that when you're buttering him up. You know what I mean? Especially someone... Could you imagine how difficult it would be for a non-English speaker, or... Not a non-English speaker. Yuri Prohaska can clearly speak English, but a guy whose English is like his second language, and where it would be way harder to pick up on deceptive tactics and shit like that from people. Because you're not used to this language. You think that he's just talking to you, giving you props and all this shit. Whereas he's trying to frame things in a certain way. And when English is not your first language, you're not going to be able to pick up on that. The same way I wouldn't be able to pick up on somebody doing it in fucking Czech. You know what I mean? So.
All right. Trying to basically, so you thought he took the high road and and that was a classy move on his part. What did I say? What did I say about him?
Now I will say I'll be interested to see what Ariel Helwani comes back with, because the dude typically does, when things like this happen, he will come back with receipts. The only problem is that a lot of the times the receipts that he's coming back with are not nearly as strong as he makes them seem. Or, yeah, they're not nearly as strong as he makes them seem. Because he does such a good job at framing shit that he can come back with something that would be fucking innocuous. And the way that he prefaces it poisoning the well, man. That's what he does. He poisons the well. That's a fucking, like, debate tactic, basically. You know what I mean? He'll tell you all this shit before he actually shows you what's what. And it's the same way that, like, media, mainstream media, will tell you essentially their opinion and what to think about a certain situation before they tell you about the situation. By the time you've gotten to the actual situation itself, your brain already is thinking what they want you to, because it's what they do, man.
What did I say about his injury? Really? Like, I got a clip. I have a clip. Now, this was the night before my injury. Hall of Fame, red carpet interview. All right? Where they asked me about Yuri Prochazka and his injury.
A lot of people are waiting, probably asking you, when is Jamal Hill going to fight again, defend the title? Any idea when that might be?
Hopefully soon. Hopefully we'll have an answer for everybody soon. I know right now the next up from the challenge up and the one that I want is Yuri. And I want to make sure he's good, make sure he's got the time and everything that he needs. But yeah, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to fight. I'm ready to get in there. I'm ready to.
Yeah. No disrespect whatsoever. And not to mention, man, he doesn't frame it like this himself, but the way that he almost was waiting for Yuri Prochazka. Do you know what I mean? He could have fought. I mean, it's not really a clear-cut contender at light heavyweight. That's why it's so exciting that Alex Pereira just entered the division and beat Jan Blachowicz. He won the belt in, like, January, and he's basically been waiting for the dude because the dude was the champion when he got injured. You know what I mean? Getting no big paydays, no nothing like that. He could have been like an Israel Adesanya, like, fuck it, I want to fight number 6. I want to fight number 5. Book it this day, this time, this place. You know what I mean? Instead of waiting for a clear-cut contender so he could build his legacy himself. You know what I mean? He could have done that, but he didn't. He's been waiting. And he waited, and he waited, and he waited, and he waited 7 fucking months. And then he injures himself because he was waiting. You know what I mean? Again, there wasn't really a clear-cut contender, but they could have potentially, I'm sure, you know what I mean, made a matchup for Jamal Hill in the meantime, waiting for Yuri Prochazka to come back.
Now, I want to make sure he's good. I want to make sure he has the time that he needs. This is the day before I got hurt, before any of the relinquishment of the title or anything. These are my words. So, Ariel, I'm going to ask you, and be a man, bro, because that seems to be a hard thing for you.
Rah. Fucking bodied, bro.
Where did I say it at? Where was I disrespectful? Where did I do anything ill towards him other than wish him well? And you go back and watch a number.
Bro, no wonder Jamal Hill's so fucking... You know what I mean? Dude's from Chicago. I mean, he wasn't raised there. He moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan, but you know what I mean?
Of interviews where I was asked about Yuri. And I said, I want you to make sure you take time. Ask Yuri what I said to him when I talked to him. I'm not fake. I don't have no reason to play fake or nice in nobody's face. That's not my thing. We see whose thing it is, though.
True. We do see whose thing it is.
I think that's be the normal because everybody
be the normal. I hate to blame the fighters a lot. Some of them, I'm like, nah, you should be smart enough to understand what he's doing. You should not be so fucking naive and to think that this dude's your best friend. He's a journalist. You know what I mean? And while you may be getting positive coverage from him right now, or he's a journalist, in air quotes, sorry. You may be getting positive coverage from him right now, but if you do anything down the line that he might not like, you'll get the Dricus du Plessis treatment. You know what I mean? You'll get the Paddy Pimblett. You'll get all the treatment. It's what he does, man. He likes you until you do something that he can profit off of in a negative light, because negativity always drives more attention than positivity. So, you know, if you've got a guy who speaks English well and just shouldn't be so fucking naive to this kind of shit, then I blame both, right? Ariel Helwani being a dirtbag and the fighter for not realizing it. But with a guy like Yuri Prochazka, who clearly English is not his strong suit, you know what I mean? He's doing a great job considering it's his second language, but I just feel like Ariel Helwani takes advantage in these situations. And this guy, Yuri, can't see it. If Ariel Helwani was speaking to him in his language, I think he might pick up on it. Do you know what I mean?
Everybody in these games trying to be like two gangsters, and it's all about just to stay.
I am gangster mode.
I am gangster.
Before somebody in the cage, and then fight, then show me you're the best performance you ever can do. So that's all about that. Not about the speaking before. This is sometimes not stupid, but sometimes it's like trash. Yeah, trash.
Now, this is funny because Jamal Hill mentions this in a minute, but when Jamal Hill won the title, who was the first one on social media to be fucking calling him out, making a video? Talking. Not just showing up to the fight, not just showing your skills. I'm coming, yeah, I'm coming.
Wow.
Before it's all said and done, is that
so honestly, like how am I supposed to take that? How y'all gonna take that? Because
from the darkness,
ads, bro.
You talk about trying to be gangster, trying to what was the video that you made after I won the title? You supposed to be resting and recovering. Everything that I've said, the where you at though and all that, was in response to him calling me out. So you try.
He's absolutely right about that, by the way. Every single thing that he said was a response video. So.
Ask for calling me out, right? Why are you talking? You only supposed to just show it, right? You don't let Ariel talk you in, bring you in, and now he's got you looking like a fool like he is.
That's what he does, man.
Because he's salty, he gets soggy, and he doesn't care. He just tries to make points even where there is none.
He frames shit. He says it, but he doesn't say it like the way that I would say it, right? He's trying to make points even when there is none. He's trying to frame shit a certain way to create a narrative, and this is what he does. And he's been doing it ever since Yuri was injured and ever since Jamal Hill was the champion, even though Jamal Hill beat the fuck out of Glover Teixeira 100 times more impressively than Yuri Prohaska did.
Champ, you better than that. Don't let him suck you in like that. It's pathetic, bro.
a fight that you would like, you versus Jamal Hill? Is that something that you would like to see happen?
Yeah. I was prepared. I was prepared for especially for these style of like Jamal, and I like that. I very started to like his style, because it was very simple. It was like
very simple. See, bro. Yuri Prohaska does not have good fundamentals. And I said this in my video, and a bunch of people were pissed off about it commenting in that video. I got a bunch of dislikes on it. I guess Yuri Prohaska's got the new, Israel Adesanya-esque fan base. But if you were to show a silhouette of him fighting and give no context, so the coach couldn't see that he's in the UFC, couldn't see who he's fighting, he couldn't see that he's a world champion, you show a silhouette of him fighting to a traditional kickboxing coach, traditional boxing coach, traditional Muay Thai coach, they would be like, what the fuck is this dude doing? Do you know what I mean? Now, it's definitely effective for him to a certain degree, but as I said earlier, he gets hit just as much as he hits. So it's not extra. It's not like Wonder Boy, where he'll land 10 before you even land one that's grazing. Do you know what I mean? Because he is so effective in his style. It looks effective because of the way that he moves. It's how Corey Sandhagen used to be like this. Corey Sandhagen used to look elusive, but he wasn't. He just wasn't. You know what I mean? He got a ton of damage in the TJ Dillashaw fight, ton of damage in the Petr Yan fight. You know what I mean? Now, though, because he keeps evolving, he's a young fighter. Now he is as elusive as he appeared. You know what I mean? Yuri Prohaska's not. Go check the fucking stats. Dude's had 200 significant strikes landed on him in 3 UFC fights. Volkan Ozdemir landed more significant strikes on him than he did. You know what I mean? And yes, he got the finish. Dominic Reyes was close in significant strikes. Yes, he got the finish. Glover Teixeira was close in significant strikes. Yes, he finally pulled off the finish in the last minute. Dude is not as fucking crazy elusive as people think he is. And Jamal Hill's right. He does not have fundamentals. He's going to say that in a second.
Like
simple but effective.
To give the power for every punch.
A lot of power in the fundamentals. Man, that's funny. That's a funny. Keep on.
Similar style. Have Pereira. Yeah, but a little bit upgraded.
First of all, he don't have similar style, and I'm also hearing this as Yuri Prohaska saying that Jamal Hill has a similar style to Alex Pereira, but a little upgraded. So here I feel as though Yuri Prohaska is actually giving Jamal Hill a compliment, and then it gets turned around on him with the snake Ariel Helwani. So listen.
Similar style. Have Pereira. Yeah, but a little bit upgraded.
A similar style as Pereira, but a little bit upgraded. So to me, that sounds like he's saying Jamal Hill has a similar style to Alex Pereira, but his style, Jamal Hill's, is upgraded compared to Pereira's. And then listen to the follow-up from Ariel Helwani.
Yeah, I have to say. It's a little bit more like there is a more logic, in his style. Yeah.
More logic.
So
Yuri Prohaska fights the least logical I've ever seen anybody fight. Okay? I get it. He's effective. He wins most of the time. He has a lot of finishes. The way that he fights is not fucking logical.
All right,
Would that mean-
hold on. All right, I'm gonna have to chalk that up just to the fact that your English is really bad.
Yeah.
Because the basics, there's a lot of power in the basics, and I think a lot of people would agree that you don't have them, which is why you do things like try to
Based.
throw a spin there, flying knee, and crazy things. People do a lot of you. If you've ever trained for a certain amount of time, anytime you've seen that somebody gets in there and they just start throwing crazy knees, that's because they're not really technically sound like that. They need something big or athletic to happen. I can beat you big athletically. I can beat you technically. I can beat you any way I want to. You don't have those options.
It's the same way when you grapple with a guy for the first time that's never grappled before in his life, but he's really strong, like built and, you know, muscular and shit, and they just try to spaz out because they think that strength will do it. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't expect him to understand it whenever he sees it. And Pereira being an upgrade for me, we gonna see. That's a good.
See, I don't even think that he said that, but Ariel Helwani frames it that way. Jamal Hill heard it that way. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm fucking crazy, but
Thing about it, we get to see. I can't wait to get back. Come on, let's keep.
I was just going to ask you, who do you think is a tougher opponent, Alex Pereira or Jamal Hill? Does that mean that you think Alex is a little bit tougher?
Hold up.
see, he has to add the. Just ask the question and then stop. Who's the tougher fight for you, Alex Pereira or Jamal Hill? Done. But then he adds his shit on top. Oh, so is that? Are you saying that Alex Pereira is actually a tougher matchup for you? And blah.
Now you see that?
It's framing.
Ask him a question. Who do you think's a tougher opponent, Alex Pereira or Jamal Hill? Does that mean you think Alex Pereira is is tougher than Jamal? You know what I'm saying? Throwing shade, but trying to get him to make it seem like he was just asking, bro, that's you throwing shade, bro. Funny.
And if they called you today and said, like, can you do a camp? Can you fight October, November, December? You're ready. Are you ready to start a camp? Are you cleared 100%? You can start training full contact, no issues for a camp?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Now, hey, now how hard was that? Now, talk about I've been talking. That's all I've been asking all this time. Yo, are you?
I'm gonna skip ahead a few seconds here.
Are you climbing? I saw you climbing this mountain. Is it the Mont Blanc or something like?
Bro, this is one of the best parts also. Everybody was shitting on Jamal Hill. What the fuck you hooping for? Why are you playing basketball? How are you going to injure yourself playing basketball when you're a fucking world champion? You got to, you could have a fight coming up, all this blah, 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 blah. Yuri Proska's out there doing crazy shit non-fucking stop. But what? Because he's climbing some fucking mountain that's got sentimental value to some shit. It's cool and samurai and all this stuff. Whereas Jamal Hill playing hoops is just some dumb hood shit. Like, I don't get it, dude. And I'm not even trying to make it about a race thing, but I'm just saying, like, what's the difference? You're a professional fighter. Yuri Proska, you're injured as fuck. I understand it's his shoulder, which he may not need to use when he's climbing a fucking mountain. Jamal Hill didn't know he was injured, dude. And oftentimes, dude, fighters, you get burnt out. And playing something like basketball, or any other sport for that matter, is as long as you're not playing like full contact rough, you know what I mean, is a good way to remain in shape without making yourself hating hitting the heavy bag, without making yourself hating hitting mitts, without making yourself like, you know what I mean, dude? You can get burnout. I love to fucking fight. Like, I love fight training. Do you know what I mean? But if I hit the heavy bag like 30 days in a row, eventually on that 31st day, I'm like, I'm kind of like, it's hard to get into. So you just do something different. And then you go back to it. Avoid burnout. Jamal Hill's just having fun with his friends, doing something athletic to remain somewhat in shape. Yuri Proska doing the same shit, just a different version. That gets praised. But Jamal Hill playing hoops is a bad thing.
Like that? How difficult was that? That's crazy stuff, man. When was that?
Yeah, it's in Europe, the highest mountain in Europe.
Bro, I'll say this. How many people have ever died playing basketball? You know what I mean? Not many. Now, he's not climbing Mount Everest, but when you're up climbing Mount Everest, you literally walk past dead people who didn't make it. There have been more people that have died from climbing fucking huge mountains than have died from playing basketball.
And it was great. It was great, man. I like these challenges, and especially the power of mountains. And that's the thing I'm looking for.
So let me get this straight.
To live is to journey. That's why Bridgestone.
He's allowed to climb a mountain, but I can't play basketball. It's amazing, right? That's crazy. But me playing basketball is wild. And then he even goes on in this to even talk about how incredible a human being he is for walking up a mountain. I became a world champion. And all this man who's a journalist and somebody who's meant to record history and bring these moments into focus decided to shit on my moment. But You see, he's got his favorites.
It's true. No, keep it going.
And really, I can't say this enough. The way that you handled the Jamal Hill news, to me, was extremely impressive, because I know you had heard a lot, and I thought it was a little bit unfair over the last few months. And the fact that you came out right away and wished him the best and didn't take a shot at him when he was down, I think really said a lot about you as a human being. So much respect to you, Yuri, for handling it that way.
Pause real quick.
Nobody shat on Yuri Prohaska for getting injured. Everybody was going on and on and on about how noble and honorable it was that he relinquished his title, even though we've found out since then that it was probably a rather heavy-handed suggestion from the UFC that him and Jamal Hill both relinquished their title, but it was a good way to get props for their fighters. But nobody's had bad shit to say about him, especially regarding his injury. You know what I mean? Even though he acquired it in one of the dumbest ways possible, as we went over earlier, having a guy who is not a medical expert, not a doctor, try and pop his shoulder back into place, causing the worst shoulder injury in UFC history. You know what I mean? A year's recovery, pretty much. And where was all this negativity? I don't understand. Ariel Helwani's going to have to come back with receipts if he wants to be taken seriously. Where the fuck are all these people that were talking shit about Yuri Prohaska for injuring himself?
What does that say about me as a human being? See when you see the narrative and where he's trying to paint and push this?
Thank you too. Thank you. You realize these things because there is a...
See, you can tell, dude. The buttering... Whoops, I hit my mic. The buttering's working on Yuri Prohaska. He thinks Ariel Helwani's honestly just saying it how it is, just being a super nice guy and telling him, like... Bro, he's trying to get certain answers. He's trying to frame shit a certain way. All of these questions could be asked in a simple, distinct five-word question. But he has to add all of his preconceived shit to it, and it's bullshit, man.
Not too much people in media who realize these things, because it's important. Because
not too much people in the media who realize these things. No, there are a lot that are slimy and snaky and fucking like to create and push their narrative onto certain situations. Ariel Helwani's just by far the worst.
We are not like just somebody who can put the trash on everybody, and it's like, man, be normal, but show me the best. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Now, Yuri closed that out, like saying something that was true, but in this case, it was dumb because I haven't said anything about that. That hasn't been the case.
Nobody has. Nobody's had a negative thing to say about him.
But yet he let Ariel lead him down, stroke his ego, talk all these nice things to you, play word games with him, because he wasn't, because one, you know what I mean, I'm not gonna say he's not smart enough. He clearly doesn't speak English that well, you know. So well, it's a lot easier to say things and get by with saying certain things with somebody who English isn't their first language. All right, bro. I'm gonna be real. I'm just gonna say it like this, like Ariel, you did what you did, bro. I don't fuck with you at all. You a snake. I think you're really a bitch, bro. You weak, and you're really pathetic, bro. Like.
All right, I'm going to stop it right there because the rest is just kind of his outro. But I agree with Jamal Hill 100%. Ariel Helwani's a fucking snake. He's a weasel. He's a bitch. And he does this shit all while hiding behind the desk. And you know what? I think I missed a point that Jamal Hill made earlier in the video because it was kind of in his intro, but I didn't want to take forever. This has already been over half an hour long. He says, you know, this guy's already admitted he would never ever fight. He doesn't like violence, acting like he's somebody's nana, which I thought was pretty funny. And then he says, yet we... talking about himself, the fighters, are how he puts food on his table. And he's correct. And Ariel Helwani will pretend to be offended at the thought that he does not respect fighters, that he is not the most blah, 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 all this shit. He will literally act offended. That's what he's going to do. He's going to gaslight the fuck out of his audience and act like, how could you say that? I'm the most respectful. How could you say that? I'm the one championing these guys. Like, after Derek Lewis on Saturday, whose contract is up, who gets paid fat from the UFC, Ariel Helwani's like actively campaigning for him to go to PFL to fight Francis Ngannou, as if anybody gives a fuck, dude. You think that's gonna sell shit? Like, regardless, that has nothing to do with the situation. I'm so glad Jamal Hill did this, dude. He is smart. He's not a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? I don't agree with everything he says. Some of the black excellence shit is a little weird to me. It's like, because if any fucking white guy was like, you know, took a picture of all the white champions and was like, hashtag white excellence, that'd be a real fucking problem. You know what I mean? But he's a cool dude, and he doesn't let that kind of shit be his entire personality. You know what I mean? So I'm glad he did this. He's clever enough to do this. He came with receipts. I'm really interested to see what Ariel Helwani comes back with, because I don't know what the fuck he could honestly say. Do you know what I mean? Jamal Hill just bodied that boy. So, Jamal Hill, you might need a lawyer. Who knows? He might catch a case for this. Dude did a fantastic job. Credit to him. And that's it, dude. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.